I don't know what to do about this. Stugotz is a hypochondriac, so anytime anything around here happens where anyone gets sick, Stugotz thinks it's contagious, even if it's a sprained ankle.
Yeah.
And so Stugotz is alleging to be in bad shape, and I'm inclined to believe him because everybody here was sick last week, but there's that whole thing about him loving to lie about everything.
Right.
Which makes it hard to believe when he says anything about anything, if it's true or not.
Sure. I've earned that, man.
You look good, though. You look like you're okay.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I don't feel good. That's the thing. I'm taking just enough things to, like, I was in bed for the better part of yesterday, and I take things to help me get through the show, and then those things wear off after the show, and I'm a complete disaster.
Do you think you'd feel better today if the Jags had won?
No, I don't. No. Why? Because I'm so upset the Patriots made it to another Super Bowl?
You're sick of the Patriots, and they always win, and they're greedy and gluttonous about winning. And when that game was 20-10 Jacksonville, you didn't know how it was going to get to 24-23,
right.
24-20, but you knew that game was going to end up with Jacksonville's season being over and New England celebrating on the field again, even though they got outplayed, I thought, in just every single way. Jacksonville played the perfect football game.
Yep.
Against them until they shriveled up at the end because they were scared of their own shadow.
They were. It's funny because we're not the only ones that know that. My wife is, I wouldn't even classify her as a casual football fan. She was at a dance recital with one of my daughters yesterday and texted me. I texted her the score. She wanted updates because she knows how much I hate the Patriots. And they were down 14-3. My wife said they'll figure it out. They'll win the game.
Well, there were a few things that happened in that game that were maddening. First of all, Jacksonville's is up 14-3 with the ball. And they're in New England territory. And they've got 3rd and 7. And they get the 8 yards on the play, but delay of game out of a timeout.
Yep.
Like delay of game out of a timeout, punt. New England, of course, scores at the end of the half, goes right down the field, like pass interference, right down the field. They hadn't done anything all game. They score, and then at halftime, it's 14-10. And you know that they're just going to hover around. And it doesn't matter if that Gronk is out, and it doesn't matter that Edelman is out, and it doesn't matter that on the last drive, Amendola was out.
As long as Brady's there. As long as he's there. It's not just that play. It was the 3rd and 18 on the next drive.
That's the other thing.
Amazing.
That's the other thing.
Yep. Because you've talked about how 3rd and 18s don't matter to that team when you have that kind of quarterback. Same with Green Bay.
Well, 3rd and 18 does matter. What I've talked about is that 3rd and 9 doesn't matter.
Okay.
3rd and 18, you shouldn't be converting against the Jacksonville defense.
Right. And then you just had, here's the biggest indictment. You said Jacksonville played the perfect game.
They really did.
Yeah, but I would say, though, when you have 55 seconds left on the clock after the Patriots have scored and you have 2 timeouts and your quarterback is playing pretty well and consistently has played well on the road for a couple of months now, you got to try to do something there.
Agreed, but they played the whole game as if they were terrified of their own quarterback.
Yeah, they did.
Played the entire game, Jacksonville, and at the end, Belichick, I thought it was interesting. They were on 3rd and 9, he ran the ball. And they got the first down, but it wasn't because they surprised him. They were willing to give the ball back to Jacksonville because they're like, there's no way Blake's going to go down the field without making a mistake.
Correct.
Like on 3rd and 9, they ran the ball. On 3rd and 9, they took the ball out of Tom Brady's hands.
Yes. Yep.
And handed it to someone else. And it's not because they thought they were going to get the first down. They didn't care about giving the ball back to Blake Bortles.
Right. Go ahead, score a touchdown with no timeouts. Yeah, do that, and you deserve to win. You're right. They took the ball out of Brady's hands.
But the whole last quarter of the game, and this is what happens against the Patriots, they can play unafraid. Stugotz, I'm watching that game, and the Patriots are doing trick plays. They were outmatched. They were being celebrated for doing trick plays. Trick plays is the desperation of the loser. They could not move the ball against that defense, and so they resorted to flips and pitchbacks and all sorts of nonsense that you never see the Patriots do.
Yep.
And it's things that people do against the Patriots when they know they're overmatched.
Yeah.
Jacksonville's defense wasn't giving New England anything until New England wanted what it wanted most at the end.
Right. Well, you wonder how good that defense is.
I know how good that defense
really?
is. Yeah, I mean, come on, man. Really?
I mean, if you're an all-time great defense, put the game away.
Okay.
I question it.
They did make a stop, and New England punted with 5 minutes left, and then Jacksonville gave them the ball right back because man, I got so frustrated with Jacksonville. All game, they're mixing and matching where they're going play action when you think they're going to run and they're running when you think they're going to pass. And at the end of the game, they just shriveled up.
Yep.
On 1st and 10, they were only going to run Fournette into the line for half a yard. It's what they were going to do. They weren't going to try and trick you. They weren't going to try and beat you. They weren't going to try and bury you. They were just trying to get to the end of the game.
And you don't blame them for doing that because of the quarterback?
I do blame them for doing it, but it worked all game. Jacksonville played the perfect game against them and lost anyway. It was an amazing thing to watch because we could sit here and say at the end of the game, well, Darius was out. He limped off. Miles Jack was out. They lost Gronk, man. They lost Gronk in the middle of the game.
Yep.
They lost Gronk. They were down 20-10 in the fourth quarter, and they won anyway.
Yeah. I mean, they lost their best offensive. Tom Brady is their best player, but they lost, I guess, his most valuable weapon. Right. And they didn't have to double team anyone anymore. Jacksonville's defense. He was the only guy that they were really concerned with. I can't believe they're back in the Super Bowl, man. You had Brady being done like 7 or 8 years ago, man.
Whoa, why are you lashing out at me?
I'm just so tired of them. You're right. You know what? I would feel better today had Jacksonville won that game. I just can't believe it, man. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. They don't have a running back.
I'm telling you that yesterday, Stugatz,
they've never had a running back.
The joy on them at the end of that game, they surprised themselves yesterday. They did not think that they should have won that game. Like the joy, the way they celebrated getting to the Super Bowl when they just sort of ho-hum their way to the Super Bowl.
Right.
They knew they got their asses kicked yesterday, Stugatz, and then at the end, their quarterback just bailed them out.
Yep. I mean, you're right. You think Belichick knows that? You think he knows?
Yes. I think
because it was a weird I've never seen Bill Belichick that emotional after a game.
I think he knows that they were overmatched. Their offense wasn't doing anything, Stugatz. That's how you beat the Patriots. Rush them with 4 and ball control the ball for 2/3 of the game. Yeah. That's exactly how you do it. How many drives was Brady allowed? 7, 8 for the whole game?
I'll check now.
I mean, but it's not very many, whatever it is.
No, you're right. They had the perfect game plan going into New England to beat that team. You're right. They did. They keep the ball away from Tom Brady, get out to an early lead. Like, they had all this stuff.
Everything, and they lost anyway. Like, Marone is flying home saying, how did we not win that game? How is our season over? Chad Kahn is in the back weeping into his mustache. Wait a minute. We won, right? What do you mean we didn't win?
We dominated.
Gronk went out. I was there. It was 20-10 in the fourth quarter. They needed Blake Bortles to make a play in the fourth quarter, and he couldn't make a single one. They needed one damn play. Run for 9 yards, man. One play.
Yeah, he couldn't do it.
And neither team trusted him to do it. That's the part that bothered me the most.
Right.
It's one thing for the Patriots to dare you. It's another thing for the Jacksonville team to be like, oh, please don't dare us. We don't want to be dared.
Yeah, we don't want to be dared.
Please don't dare us.
It's one thing for the other team to doubt you when your own coach.
I mean, the whole game playing scared, just trying to hide their quarterback.
I don't want to say that he avoided the big mistake because he made 2 mistakes. One could have been intercepted. It wasn't. And he did fumble. They just recovered. And I know that it was just crossing patterns and screens, basically, but that was the best game I've seen Blake Bortles play.
Right, but they didn't ask him to do anything.
Is that on Blake Bortles or is that on Doug Marrone?
Yeah, it's on Blake Bortles because Doug Marrone knows he's got to protect him. You can't have Blake Bortles throwing it all over the field. He'll throw a bunch of interceptions. And so you do it that way. Check downs, 5 yards, screen passes. That team is really good. That Jacksonville team is really good.
Those crossing patterns, I mean, New England knew that was coming for 3.5 quarters and really couldn't do anything
couldn't
about
do anything against it. It was it's just a testament to that organization. It has been an unholy kind of hell for our local organization to be in that division for 15 years with no chance against all the things that team is. I love that Jacksonville team so much, Stugatz.
I know you do.
And they go in there and they played exactly the game I thought they had to play. I mean, exactly the game. Don't put Bortles in situations where he's throwing the ball downfield. Just screen passes and let the defense force Tom Brady to beat you. And then Gronk goes down. Gronk goes down. And you're like, that's the one advantage. The Patriots have only 2 advantages on offense. 2. It's not even Brandon Cook's speed. I don't know how or why Jacksonville played him that way.
Right.
They played him so soft all game.
I mean, I thought first off, he was the star of the day yesterday. He is so good calling games. I wish he was calling the Super Bowl this year. He's not. I believe it's Chris Collinsworth and Al Michaels. But he made a great point where this will be a equally as daunting task as coming back on the Falcons last year in the Super Bowl because of this defense, because Gronk is out, because they no longer have to double team anyone.
Right.
And he figured it out.
And they did figured it out because they always figure it out.
It's also because there really aren't any good teams in that conference outside of them.
Right.
Well, Jacksonville's good.
No, they got a great defense, but I mean, it's Blake Bortles, guys. He used to be going up against Peyton Manning. Now he's going to the Super Bowl more because Peyton Manning isn't there.
Yeah, now it's Mariota and Bortles is all he's got to beat to get to the final.
Roethlisberger made a couple Super Bowls. He's like 100 pounds heavier now.
He gets Foles in the Super Bowl.
That was one of the stats they threw up yesterday. They put up all the quarterbacks on the screen, postseason starts. And so you got Keenum 1, Foles 2, Bortles 2. So it's 5 total postseasons. And then they just put up 5 Brady rings.
Don Le Batard.
Aren't you trying to run a homeless guy out of your cul-de-sac?
Yeah.
You want to tell the people that story?
Stugats.
There's a homeless guy who is living in our community up in Parkland, and I'm aware of him. I've seen him. I've given him a loaf of French bread, but I don't have the heart to kind of go to any, of the management there and rat him out. I feel bad for him. So my strategy is if I tell enough people, perhaps someone will go to management and get him kicked out. But now he's upgraded, man. He's got like a little scooter. Got a basket on it, so now he just drives around the neighborhood. And I saw him this weekend, and half the loaf of French bread that I gave him a week ago is still there in the basket. I told him to eat it already.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugats on the ticket.
All right, I'm going to allow you a glimpse into the last 10 minutes of my life.
Oh, boy.
Stugats, just here before the cameras went on, said, oh, yeah, I saw it all yesterday, Dan. Kraft, Belichick. It was frosty. At the end of the game, Belichick was waving goodbye to the crowd. That was Belichick's last game in New England. That was the final game. And he goes on and on about why this is so. But that's not the part of the story that I want to tell you about why it is it's hard to take anything he says seriously. It's the story that was right before that preceded the Belichick is on his way out. That's goodbye. Mike, this happened to Stugats this week, and I think that we are headed toward a glorious place where Stugats just ends up in a bunch of doddering dad situation. Emma was given a bracelet by her boyfriend this weekend. There's a boyfriend. There's a birthday bracelet.
Yeah, he gave it to her late last week as a birthday gift, and she brought it home this weekend.
And the clasp broke, so Stugats was sent out, dutiful dad, to get it fixed at the local fair nearby. Because clearly the teenage daughter has to have the bracelet her boyfriend gave her for her birthday for Monday at school.
It wasn't a fair. Like, there weren't carnival rides and games and stuff. It was the festival flea markets.
Okay, the festival flea market. So Stugats goes to get the clasp filled at the festival flea market, a duty he does not want to be partaking in for a daughter that he does not want having boyfriend.
Right. Now, the importance of me getting it fixed was he gave it to her on Friday. She needed to wear it on Monday. And the way the clasp was prevented her from wearing it on Monday. So Dad had to go get something fixed that he didn't want to get fixed because he doesn't want her to have a boyfriend in the first place and doesn't want that boyfriend getting her jewelry.
And let me tell you about the work of our beloved superhero here when he gets to the flea market. Not surprisingly, he gets distracted by the chair massage. Nothing surprising about this, right?
I love a good chair massage.
There's nothing surprising. He's there to fix the glass, okay? And he sticks his face in the chair massage hole, okay? But because he's fighting the remnants of a flu and because he's Stugats, eventually after 15 minutes, he lifts his face up from the chair and the horrified masseuse sees just an enormous amount of snot all over Stugats' face. And so that's what I saw looking at me as it reported exclusively. That was Belichick's last game in New England.
I mean, the masseuse looked at me. He didn't say a word to me the entire time, and I believe he doesn't speak any English. Just looked at me and went, whoa.
Yeah.
Mike, I felt it coming out of me. You know when you lay down to get a massage, you either get stuffed up or it just starts running out of you. In this case, it ran out of me. And I felt it all over my face. I didn't know what to do.
Guillermo, put it on the poll. Have you ever had so much snot in your face that you horrified the masseuse after taking your face off of?
Not very relatable, I don't think.
No, it is. I'm telling you.
It's not relatable. No. Stugatz, what you're saying is something I believe to have never have happened before.
It was pouring out.
And it's not that I'm saying, no, of course, people get massages and all sorts of things get secreted during the moving around of fluids.
Baby.
But not so much that you're not aware that snot is caking on your face.
Right. No, I was aware that it was caking on my face. What do you do in that spot? I'm on the chair,
You wipe
Dan.
your face.
With what?
You asked for something.
Oh.
You asked the masseuse for a tissue, like any civilized human being.
I didn't know what to do, man.
So that was Belichick's last game in New England.
Yeah. It felt like that. Was I the only one who felt that?
They seemed really happy, but I assume their happiness was born. What did Kraft say afterward? Mike, did you say you had some sound from Bob Kraft where he basically confirms? Well, what did he confirm? Let's hear it.
Yeah, this was before the game on NFL Network, and this might confirm that whole Seth Wickersham thing that a lot of people in the sports industry were trying to knock and discredit.
There's a lot of strong-minded people, but when you have something good going, everyone's got to get their egos checked in and try to hold it together.
That was in response to can you keep Belichick and Brady together for the next few years? And his response was, everyone's got to get their egos checked in.
Yeah, Belichick's gone. Because Belichick's ego, I think it was bruised. I think he clearly wanted to keep Jimmy Garoppolo. None of it makes sense if you believe all the reporting by Adam Schefter, and why wouldn't you? He's as good as there is. That they had offers before the NFL draft for a lot more than a second-round pick. And I still believe that Belichick wanted to move forward with Jimmy Garoppolo, and Bob Kraft said no. And it was frosty, man. Did you notice it on the stage? Frosty. Woo!
Guillermo, put it on the poll. Was it frosty on the Patriots stage?
And you'd think that, I wonder if Brady finally won Patriot of the Week. But afterwards, at the press conference, they gave Belichick the opportunity to praise Tom Brady, which would be easy to do. Yep. And he did so. But something at the end might lend itself to this whole controversy.
Can you just speak to the resourcefulness of Tom dealing with something like that midweek and then coming out and playing a huge game like that?
I mean, look, Tom did a great job, and he's a tough guy. We all know that, all right? But, I mean, I'm not talking about open heart surgery here.
He hates him. I mean, just hates him. I mean, 5 years ago, we would have talked about what a warrior Tom Brady is.
And I'll tell you what, no matter how much of a champion you are and no matter how great you are, Pat Riley has written books, plural, on the problems don't start on the way to winning. The problems are after you've won. And I could see how Tom Brady and Bill Belichick both look at each other and say, hey, I'm responsible for you. And who's right?
It's a great question. I would say that Brady's probably right. That would be me.
But Belichick, who gets more pride out of yesterday's game? Because to me, Belichick does. It's nice that Brady gets to win it at the end, but Belichick beating that team when he had nothing for them, Stugotz. He had nothing. They were going to gadgets.
Yeah,
they
but
had nothing for the Jags. They got smoked. Their coaches got smoked.
But he had the quarterback, and so I would go differently there. I would say Tom Brady felt better after that victory. Like, hey, this is why I wanted to stay here. I'm still the best quarterback in the game. I could still bail you out when you have nothing. We have nothing. Edelman, out. Gronk, out. Jacksonville, early lead. You have nothing except for me. Jimmy Garoppolo can't do that. I still can.
I find fascinating that Brady, for the first time, you've heard me talk a number of times to Michael Holley, to authors who have been through here, who have really chronicled all the stuff with the Patriots. And one of the things that I've marveled at most is that Tom Brady has willingly, for the better part of 2 decades, taken a subservient role as superstar to his coach. And that appears to have stopped. And that's where the fun begins.
Yes. Right. Why do you think it stopped? Just age, perspective?
I mean, age. He's doing unusual things in his private life where he believes in things in his private life medically, whatever those things are, that he probably believes to be more sophisticated than Bill Belichick. Also, he's got a powerhouse for a wife, a powerhouse who must be slapping him in the head being like, hey, you're your own corporation. Belichick didn't make you. You made Belichick.
Yeah.
Like he's got a wife. He's sleeping next to a woman each night who conquers industries.
Sure. I mean, Brady kind of, if you were to do it in court, kind of wins that case, right? I mean, Brady's only had one coach, and he's been successful with that coach. Belichick's had multiple quarterbacks with whom he hasn't been successful with, except for this particular quarterback.
I love the psychology of this, though, Stugotz. I remember talking to Bernie Kosar. Bernie Kosar was already in his late 40s. And the lopsided nature of being a quarterback, and keep in mind, Tom Brady's more lopsided than any of them. The nature of being a quarterback doesn't allow you to focus on almost anything else. So Bernie Kosar's dad ravaged his finances. Bernie Kosar arrives at 45 years old. He doesn't know how to cut bread. He's got a saw in the kitchen because he's using it to cut French bread. Like, he doesn't know how to do anything. He doesn't know how to turn on the washing machine. What he knows is how to read defenses, and Brady's the most mutated version of that. So I can see how Brady arrives at late 30s, still being a child. Hey, my parents handle this. My wife handles this. My coach handles this. I am a child in every way, except I am a genius at this one thing. Allow me to work on this one thing. And then you arrive in your late 30s, early 40s, and you look around and you're like, nah, I'm the adult. Nah, I'm not going to be subservient anymore to Belichick. Get Garoppolo out of here.
Don't blame him.
I don't blame him either, but the neutering of Belichick is such that I understand how you jump to the conclusions on that one. Because Belichick has to secure his future beyond Brady. You cannot keep counting on a 40-year-old quarterback. Stugotz, how long is he going to do this?
Dan, I don't know. I thought he was done doing it like 3 or 4 years ago. He's still doing it at the highest level.
But there's no precedent for it. You remember, this is what I don't get. Can someone help me with this part of it? Brady and Peyton Manning never looked the part, right? Peyton Manning had that hormone scandal, the Al Jazeera thing that it's so murky, I don't even know what's true there.
Mm-hmm.
But Brady is doing things. I remember years ago, God Lord, that baseball was still the sport that mattered, and Cal Ripken Jr. was still.
We got a fine situation.
I'm on silent, man.
Someone's phone.
Look at where my switch is.
We got a fine.
I don't even know where Dan's phone is.
Well,
if it's not there, that's a problem.
Yeah. If it's not there, then it's me. Is that what we're saying? But I'm on silent right now.
Someone's phone went off in that studio.
All right, we will reconvene.
You instinctively did grab yours, Stu.
Well, I did, just to make sure it wasn't mine, that I had the volume turned off, but I did have it turned off.
No text or anything.
I don't have a single text here.
I've confirmed.
Yep.
Through process of elimination, Dan.
Where's Dan's phone?
Where's your phone?
I gotta call him.
I mean, the last text I have.
Let's send a text to Dan. Hang on.
All right, let me call him. Hold on, let me call him. You're going to call him or you're going to text him?
No, you should just call it. See if it rings, right? Then we'll have our culprit. If it rings out loud, then we'll have our culprit.
And then call Stugotz.
All right. I'm calling Dan right now. Hold on. This is very...
That's too fun.
Yeah. $5.
Don Le Batard.
I spent a good amount of time telling my daughter, Rachel, that she needs to conquer her fears. There was a zip line on board, okay? And I said, I will do the zip line with you. And one of my fears, really my biggest fear, is heights.
Stugotz.
Rachel, if you do it, I will do it. Let's go up there and do it. Got her all psyched up. Let's go do it. She said, Daddy, I'm in. She said, you go first. I said, oh, no. you go first, because what's going to happen here is I'm going to go, and then you're going to chicken out. Well, what actually happened there is she went first, and then I actually chickened out.
Oh, my God. Are you kidding me? Like, what, did that ruin the cruise? What happened?
She's looked at me differently since.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugatz on the ticket.
Guillermo, put it on the poll. Are Michael Jordan and Derek Jeter jealous of Tom Brady right now? Michael Jordan and Derek Jeter out of the game now, lording over it. Michael Jordan, what does he think at the end of that Heat game the other night? What he's presiding over? What, like, really? I used to be the greatest. I'm gonna watch Olynyk and James Johnson beat me with 5 points in 3 seconds. Really?
That's got to be so difficult.
Right.
All of it.
He owns a franchise. Wait a minute. We're up 5 with 30 seconds left. That's always a win, right? Bang, boom. James Johnson in your front. We lose. Why'd we foul Olynyk? Dwight, what are you doing? Why am I building around Dwight? Oh!
Trade Kemba.
Trade Kemba.
Start over.
See what I can get for Kemba. They have to be jealous of him, right? Because I mean, Brady's still out there doing it.
At the highest of levels. Jeter played till when? Till
about then?
About 40, right? And had a
but
great.
Now, how's that going for him now?
It's not going well for him now. Yeah, they had to be jealous, of course. And his sport's way more physical. I mean, it's crazy.
It is. It is totally insane that this person continues to be in the Super Bowl every year as guys get hurt. At the end of that game, Jacksonville lost 2 key players.
Right.
At the end of that game, just in the last 5 minutes of that game, 2 key players hobbled off. Brady never hobbles off.
This will be, if they win it, their 3rd Super Bowl in 4 years. There's only 2 teams to do it. They're one of them. This would be the 2nd time.
I think they're 3rd in 4 years since I've said Brady was done. Since I've said Brady was in decline, I believe it's their 3rd Super Bowl in 4 years. Where I was dissecting his deep ball accuracy and saying, see, this is where a quarterback ages, right here.
Do you think there's something to what I said earlier, though? Because during what his supposed prime was, there was really good teams. The Ravens, the Steelers, wherever Peyton Manning was, they were really good championship quality
I'm with
teams.
you. The AFC is awful. It's awful. The fact, going through Jacksonville and Tennessee, if we'd gone through before the season and said, hey, the Patriot playoff games are going to be Tennessee and Jacksonville, you're like, that division is crap. Nobody from that division can challenge the Patriots. What happens in that division is Andrew Luck emerges, they lose 45-7, and they accuse the Patriots of deflating the football.
Right.
That division can't beat. It is the easiest path.
Oh, no question.
Having to beat, but Mike, I'm telling you, I said before that game, the Patriots would have rather have seen the Steelers than that Jacksonville team because of that specific thing that happened to them all game long, and then they just yanked it out at the end. If you'd given Brady the choice before the game, who do you want coming in here? He would have said Pittsburgh, not Jacksonville.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I questioned that before the game, but obviously armed with watching the game now, armed with hindsight, you're right, yeah. I mean, that would have been a preferable matchup for Tom Brady.
Jacksonville really ravaged them, man. Ravaged
really did.
them,
Yes.
and still somehow managed to lose the game.
They're going to be so good for so long, that team. It feels like they are. I know the window's closed very quickly in the
stuff,
NFL.
Though, right? You never know with that stuff, right? Seattle, it closed fairly quick. New Orleans, it closed fairly quick.
Yeah.
I mean, and now...
Just a young running back. They have young wide receivers. Allen Robinson, he's been hurt all year, right? I mean, they've got, and the defenses, as you have said, all year. And I haven't watched them that closely, but man, they were impressive. Physical, man.
Yeah, Allen Robinson's their best offensive weapon, and he went down in the first game of the season.
What were you guys telling me during the break? There was something that you were telling me about Stugatz's weekend adventures that had me amused. Regardless, we'll get back to it. What's going on with the boys? What are you going to do about the boys lurking and sniffing around the daughters?
I don't know what to do, man. This is uncharted territory for me. I'm trying to feel my way through it. My dad said this is going to be the most difficult 5-year stretch of you being a parent, is how you're going to deal with the boys that come into your daughter's lives. And right now it's Emma has a boyfriend, and he's a very, very nice kid. He happens to be a really super nice kid.
But the gift he bought was luxurious.
Too extravagant, yes. And when I talk to him next, and that will probably be today after the show, I will tell him to tone it down just a bit. I think you just got to be honest with these kids. Honesty is not a strength for me, but I just think you have to be honest with these kids. I do. I mean, but I don't know what to do, Dan. This is bad because it's, you know what's dawned on me? My kids don't want to hang out with me anymore. They'd rather hang out with the boys, and that's really hard. It's really hard for me to accept.
I've enjoyed that in the middle of that, teenage girls trying to impress teenage boys, that you keep emerging as the dad who's got snot on his face at the flea market or is holding too many pizzas in one hand and spilling soda in the other as the daughter marches by with her friends going, Dad! Like, I love this new sitcom,
we're entering a great time.
The sitcom development of like Stugotz as clunky dad. But the trump card you hold is that 13-year-old boys still love you. It's such a good trump card to have.
Yes.
That even if your daughters don't respect you, that the boys whose attentions your daughters crave do respect you as big ESPN man.
No, and my daughters know that, and they use it to their advantage, but then they get upset when, like they FaceTime a lot, and I'll walk into the room just to say, what's up? I'm like, Andrew, what's up? And he no longer cares about Emma being in the room. He just wants to talk about the AFC Championship game with me.
That's right. That's good.
Yes.
This is good.
You eat that part up, though.
I got to devise a plan, man. Like something where I'm just giving like little hints about my daughters, things that those kids wouldn't know that would possibly get them to walk away from my daughters. Is that evil?
Yes.
Okay.
So sabotage the whole thing?
Sabotage their relationship.
But in ways
FaceTiming. Hey, Emma, Abby just finished washing your sheets that you peed in last night.
Mike, I
got to ratchet up my embarrassment game. Yes, I think that's what I have to do.
You just got a glimpse into the Stugotz mind, though, of what can I get away with if there were no consequences? Do you realize that if Stugotz lived in a world with no actual consequences, he'd murder people, right?
I don't know about that, man. I'd pay someone to do it. Vinny.
It's unbelievable, man.
I mean, there's no consequences, you're saying, right? I still don't know if I can get myself to commit that act, but I would have.
I would not like to know what Stugotz would do with like his first 5 choices if I eliminated the idea of consequences. Mike, what do you think the first 5 choices would be? No one will ever find out.
You especially need to be worried.
I know. I'd have to be more worried than most, right?
Never pondered this.
You need to beef up your security team.
Right? Well, but who'd have to be most worried, me or Abby?
Oh, man.
No, Abby would be all right.
Abby would be all right. Even without consequences, she'd still run things.
Yes. Yeah.
So just me? I'm the only one who would have to worry about a hit being put on me by Vinny.
Well, no, Wingo.
Oh, yeah.
Wingo would have to worry.
I don't know if Wingo would have to. That will play itself out. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I think Wingo would be fine. Dan, you'd be fine too. I love you, despite what you think. I really do. I wouldn't do that to you.
I believe that you love me. I also believe that you are notoriously self-interested. And Stugotz, if at the end, if it ends with you having stabbed me in the back and I sink to the end of my career and you rise up to more glorious heavens, I've got to just on my way down shrug my shoulders and be like, yeah, I knew that was going to happen. I knew that was going to happen eventually.
Predictable ending.
It was a good ride while we had it, but
I sent Vinny to your house and he says, right, and he's standing over you. He's about to pull the trigger and he says, Stugotz sent me. Yeah. And you would just slap your forehead and say, oh,
of course he did, Vinny. I should have seen you coming decades ago.
Bada boo.
It's on me. I get it.
Oh, man.
So, Mike, you had a turbulent weekend with your Miami Heat. You're mad at them for losing against Brooklyn. Just coughed the game up.
Man, that was a really bad loss.
They've got their two losses. Their two losses on the road, Brooklyn and Chicago. It's the only times they've lost in the last, they've won all their other games, right?
Yeah, Chicago's played a lot better since Mirotic came back, so I wasn't too upset, especially on the back end of a back-to-back, and it was a matinee game. The Brooklyn one, I understand Russell came back. That's not a good team. And
it's not a good team.
They were up 16.
You had the game all game, and then you just fell apart at the end.
But, I mean, what a culture win, because they were a 7-point dog headed into that Charlotte game because it was back end of a back-to-back.
Nobody was playing.
Again, the whole deal with this team all season long, and they flat out steal that game. No business winning that. Olenek makes the 2 free throws at the end.
That's the most surprising victory of the season, right? Like that's
yeah.
Well, but I'm saying they've won a lot of games at the buzzer, but that's the down 5 with 30 seconds left. That's not a game you ever win.
No, it's not. But so we're saying that's the most, just because of how they won it, that's the most surprising.
Yeah, because you're down 5 with 30 seconds and you win in regulation. Like think about that's like a riddle, Stugotz. How
right.
You are up, you're down 5, you have the ball. There are 30 seconds left in the game. How do you win in regulation?
Yeah,
you see that game go to OT sometimes,
right?
But
never
maybe
win it.
to
Right.
OT, maybe OT if a bunch of different things happen.
I was just going to say that I understand why you're saying it's the most surprising victory of the season. I would say at Boston, winning by a point with Kyrie Irving healthy.
No, but I'm not
was a good
saying.
one.
No, I'm not saying. Look, of course, Charlotte's
Right.
unimpressive as an opponent. I'm just saying, down 5, 30 seconds left against anybody.
Yes, it's a loss. Right.
I was moving away from the television, assuming a loss. My father, who's an old man, how about this? You guys will appreciate this. My father, who's an old man, was watching in a sports bar, and what he thought happened on that last sequence was they missed the dunk, were fighting for the rebound, and then got the 3 and got a 3-pointer. So instead of the dunk, 2 points, and then the 3-pointer to tie it, my father was still confused toward the end of the game, wondering why it is that it said tie game when the Heat only got 3 points. Because it moved so fast. The Heat scored so fast that they confused an old man.
I can totally understand how that happens.
I can see it, yeah.
Especially because they scored quicker than the scorekeeper on the television could keep up with. So if you're watching that game in a bar, when they made the dunk, by the time the James Johnson 3 went in, the score was still 105-100 on the screen. I was watching it on Twitter, and I was very confused by the whole sequence. Tonight will be a really tough game to win. Really
Is everyone playing for the Rockets?
Finals preview.
Is everyone?
Harden came back last week. Yeah,
It's everybody for that?
They're all back.
So what's Miami, like a 10-point dog?
I'd check it out. They did win at Houston last year, but this is a different Houston Rockets team. This is a much better Houston Rockets team now.
I just got the power rankings, ESPN NBA power rankings, and for the first time this year, the Heat are in the top 10, Mike. How about that? Number 9, right behind the Cavaliers.
Yeah, a lot of people do this thing with the Western Conference just because of its history and its reputation. The Western Conference isn't much better than the Eastern Conference. They have like 2 teams that can win a championship, where the East only probably has 1, arguably. But teams, like when you get to that 4 seed, very similar to the Eastern Conference.
It's exciting, man. It really is. There's no stars on this team. It's exciting to be 27-19. Just a fantastic job by the entire organization.
What's the spread in tonight's game? Houston Rockets
10.5.
Yeah, 10.5.
Yeah, they think this is going to be a straight up boat race.
Well, but I mean, Houston's favored that way when they're healthy against just about everybody, aren't they?
Yeah, I'm going into this game expecting a loss. How can you not? It's been a pretty productive trip considering you stole a win and you had a really good win at Milwaukee. Yeah, you had the I'll remember this trip for the win that you should have had at Brooklyn. But
these have been pretty good wins, though. You're right. They had a win at Toronto, recent win at Boston, the Milwaukee wins you just pointed out. It's been a pretty good stretch for them.
They're giving you, if you care about basketball, they're giving you the high end of everything it is that they can give you. They can't do a lot better than what they've given you. In fact, they can't, period. The last season they've given you of total play, the end of last season, the last half of last season, the first half of this season, That's as well as this that's basketball team maxed out on everything it can do.
Yes.
It's the high end of everything. It's amazing that they've built it with this collection of pieces into feeling like the Tim Hardaway, Alonzo Mourning teams that maxed out at 55 and 60 wins. It's just amazing that they're doing it without Tim Hardaway or Alonzo Mourning.
Well, a lot of things. I mean, you got to give Riley and Spo some credit here, right? The Olynyk contract appears to be a really, really good one. He's been very valuable to this team. They're doing it without Dion Waiters. Bam appears to be a pretty good draft pick.
No, and Richardson is not.
And Richardson's been great.
Yeah.
Richardson's development has been pretty astonishing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's as you should feel remorse, all of you, Stugatz chief among you, every time you question whether or not Pat Riley is good at this. You should stop doing that.
Okay.